All right, welcome everybody to Full Range Media. I am your host, MostValuablePat, and I am here with Neptune.
Hello, nice to be here.
How's it going?
We're going pretty well. Let's go ahead and start this review up for
Sounds
Middle Earth.
sounds like a plan.
Cut
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna do our very first gaming review. So we are going to break our review cherry on Shadow of War,
Giggity.
and this is the sequel to Shadow of Mordor. And to give you guys just kind of a brief idea about what we're gonna do is we're gonna give grades for everything, you know, about the game. We'll give it an A to F grade, and hopefully that'll help you guys determine whether or not you want to go buy it, if you want to rent it, if you want to wait, if you don't want to buy it at all. So we will give our recommendations and give our pros and cons, and you guys can kind of go from there. But this is Shadow of War, and it is a sequel to Shadow of Mordor. And in case you guys didn't know what Shadow of Mordor was, it was a story about Talion, who was a Gondorian ranger who gets killed by a bunch of orcs. Him and his family get killed by a bunch of orcs, and he gets possessed by Celebrimbor, who was the original ringmaker who made the Ring of Power for Sauron. And it's basically just like a revenge game where you go out and try to kill the guy who killed your family. And I never actually beat it, but Shadow War takes place what, a couple years in the future of this game of Shadow Mordor, right?
Yes, a couple of years, but it basically leads off from the first, and you basically have to just hunt down Sauron again and try to eliminate him from Middle Earth, and you gain help from the sub characters or NPCs from different regions of Mordor. And at the same time while earning new skills and new moves, as well as getting new captains around the area.
Hmm. And you get a nice little, you get good background stories. You get background stories of Sauron. You get background stories of some of the Nazgul and stuff like that. That was really cool. I like that a lot. That was
Oh yeah,
a
I
really
agree.
neat thing to add in the game to people who don't really know a whole lot about the lore. And there's so much lore in this game that's another good part. You can just kind of go in and read if you want. But Talion to me was kind of a he was kind of a downer. He seemed like he was just so monotone, and he didn't have too much emotion when he was talking in the cinematics, and that kind of annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah, he was pretty much like an emo version of Batman in a way.
Yeah.
Very monotone, very almost down on himself a little bit in
Mm.
certain areas, but there was more interaction with more of the sub characters than there was with Talion.
Yeah, like
I think one or two of the sub characters would be Bruise and Ratbag. Those two are
mm,
just comic. They're just the comical side of Shadow War. I love them to death.
yeah. And it was cool to see like all these different characters, like Baranor and Eltario, who's the elf, this elf lady who fights all the Nazgul and stuff like that. She's awesome, and everybody else was cool. Even Celebrimbor was cool, but Talion was just kind of like and he was okay, but I wish they would have a little more emotion into that guy. Give a little bit more of a just I am Italian, type of thing. But they go into the combat system, which is kind of the same as the first one. The first one was pretty much they added a couple things. They added double jump. They added like a faster way to climb, but you didn't really care for that.
Yeah, it's the climbing system seemed a little flawed along with the jumping as well. It's certain points where you have to like go up at either a tower or jump onto a platform that you want to get to, and you fall on short, or you end up jumping into a crowd of orcs below by accident. So it's a flawed in some ways and annoying, but you have to get used to it.
Yeah, I did. Once I got and closer to the end of the game, I was already used to it. And even when you beat the story and are done with the story, you have so much more stuff to do afterwards, which is kind of ridiculous. How big and giant the map is. There's just like a million different regions that you can go to, and they're all huge. But when you're going out and killing these captains, and you your inventory is a good size. You have a dagger, you have a sword, you have a bow, and you have armor, and you have a ring. And like there's different categories. There's from common to Legendary, which is like the RPG aspect of this game, and they have different sets you can get, kind of like Diablo, where you get a certain amount of sets, and then you you get a certain amount of sets, and then you have different abilities for these different sets, and some of them are awesome, some of them, in my opinion, kind of suck, but it just kind of depends on how you play. So you can't really nitpick too much about that, and the gem system too.
Oh yeah,
It
that enhances the stats of both your gear and your weapons as well.
Yeah,
And it
and
also affects your main health and your experience gain. It's really good. You can putz around with that day long
yeah,
and make a build for your character.
that was a lot of fun to try to mess around with all that kind of stuff. But then they go on to using those skills. So then they have this big ginormous skill tree, and
Yeah.
there's like a million different skills you can use, and there's sub skills for those skills you can use. So you can only have one active at a time. So you kind of got to read what you're going to be doing, and it just goes by the way you play. You know what I mean? And if you're more
Hmm.
of a of a bow guy or something like that, you can do something with the bow. If you're more of a stealthy guy, you can go more stealthy. If you're aggressive and you want to fight against a big giant armies of people, which I don't recommend doing, then you can do that too.
Yeah.
But they really give you a lot of skills to mess around with. But the one thing that bugged the shit out of me was you had to wait so long to get your to start building up your army, and and it was like 5 or 6 hours. It was annoying. You go through the first act of the story, which is a decent first act, but it's once you start doing it, holy shit, it's so much fun to start building up your army and taking over fortresses and all that kind of stuff. It was a blast. Did you like that?
Yeah, I love it. On going back to the skill tree, I've noticed once you're in combat, you can interchange between the skills. So let's say you encounter an orc that is resilient to poison, and you currently have a poison skill. You can change that on the fly. So let's say you could put he's weak against frost. You could switch that on the fly too as well. So that I kind of liked. But going back to what you said before for the dominating, that I love that. It was it's a pain in the ass initially because you have to grind for that high level orc, or you have to grind to get him up to that certain level of what you want to. But other than that, it's so amazing. I love it. That as well as the gaining the intel from both the worms, which are these orcs with the green symbol over their heads, and they give off intel, meaning they show the weakness and the damage or dazed effects on on certain orcs.
If you're at a certain level and you see a guy that's like 5 or 6 levels below you and you like him a lot because he has like not very many weaknesses, he has a lot of strengths or whatever, you can get his level up. And they have the pit, right? The fighting
Yes, the
pit.
fighting pits. Yes.
And that's so cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
you have you versus you don't do anything. You just sit there and watch. It's like watching the UFC fight, but you sit there and watch, and your orc versus another orc. And if he wins, you get to, his level goes up, and you can keep him. And if he loses, you're just gonna go down and fight the same orc that beat your guy, and take over that guy. And that was
Yeah.
great. That was
That
so much
concept
fun.
was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that was excellent. I love that shit. It was so much fun. And you're rooting for him. You're like cheering your orc guy. Let's go! And then, let's go, douche. And then
Yeah.
you there is an
You are my
orc in this
boy,
freaking game
douche.
named Douche. It was crazy. His name is Douche. It was awesome. But
Yeah, these orc names, they have a unique type of, I guess, random generator per se for naming for orcs.
yeah,
Like, let's say there's a Baka, the flesh eater, or Douche, the bag.
Douche.
No, no, no. Douche, the like human slave owner guy, whatever. You know.
Yeah,
But
and
yes, yeah, good.
those are a lot of. It was a lot of fun. So and one of them sings. One of the orcs sings to you, which is funny.
Yeah, they sing and they rhyme. Certain
Yeah.
orcs sing and rhyme.
And the guy that was screaming. Remember the guy that was screaming?
Yes, there's there's certain orcs that are just don't use words. They just either make gurgling noises, they scream, or they squeal, or they just moan.
Yeah. That was
But
fun
yeah,
shit. That was fun. Well, and that's just one of the side missions that you can do. And there's a whole crap ton of them. You know, you have side missions with, you know, there's 4 or 5 like different story arcs in the game, which when you have to do like a follow mission, you know, when you're teaming up with one of the other NPCs in the game, it could be a pain in the ass. They sometimes just stand around and do nothing. I had one where one of the elf ladies just stared at a wall for like 2 or 3 minutes. It was annoying.
yeah, the AI system in some way is sort of flawed. Especially, I kind of noticed that, especially during the fight pits. All I see is like if I see an orc captain, his archers or his like little follower bodyguard guys next to him, they just stand there or do nothing, or they just like attack like a random piece of wood or something. Sometimes the AI can be a little flawed, but other than that, it works flawlessly in certain areas.
Yeah, I saw that
Especially
one where
during,
you were doing like, and he kept on spamming the same move over and over again.
yeah,
But then you get, but also when you're taking over the fortresses, you fight against these war chiefs, and what I did is I took out their bodyguards that they had on them, and then you could do like these betrayal missions where your guys betray his or betray the war chief, and then you can kill the war chief or take him over as your own guy if you want. But you can get betrayed too. You know, there were several times where I was in the middle of a battle, and all of a sudden I get ambushed by another orc, or I get betrayed by one of my own orcs.
yeah. To clarify on the war chiefs, as you said before, they're basically they stand guard on the fort and they activate certain abilities of the fort in general once you try to capture it. So let's say you have a war chief that is in charge of the archers. So you take him down by systematically going after his bodyguards, which are probably maximum of 3 to 2. So once that happens, that activates a betrayal mission, as you brought up earlier, and yeah, it pretty much makes it a lot easier to bring down the forts as well.
Yeah, and then you can either kill them or you can keep them as your own. But then when you kill them, how are you going to replace these orcs that you killed? Oh my god! I think I'm gonna say the magic word. What's
Oh
the
boy.
magic word?
Oh no, don't say it.
What's the
Oh no.
magic word? The magic word is there are microtransactions in this game,
Oh god.
and you know, but they don't matter in at least
Not,
to me at all.
yeah, not one bit. I mean, you
There's
you honestly you get more like free microtransactions than you do with for paying for them,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. They
But
make no
yeah.
difference at all. Like you buy chests for gear and orcs and upgrades for your orcs, and they make no difference. Like you pay Mirian, which is the money in this game, and
Yeah, the
I've
basic
had
currency.
yeah the currency, and I have 40,000 left over. I don't know what the hell to do with it all, so I just buy chests.
You can dismantle just either weapons or by killing off like lower leveled orcs and getting their loot. Like they generate loot once you destroy them in your armory or no, your garrison. That's what it's called.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's almost easy, pretty fast how fast you can get your main currency.
Yeah, it's super easy, and you can get a good orcs from it, legendary orcs and epic orcs and all that kind of stuff from it, and it's not really that difficult to build up your squad the way you want it fairly
True.
fast.
Even getting it free is I would highly recommend it because all you have to do is just do online challenges, which are just either community based or PvP or PvE. Any of those three, they give you 50 each upon completion of for challenges, and it amounts through and it actually no, it resets every day. So that's like 50 per week or per day each week. So that's like what, like 200, 300,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some of the chests like amount to in the marketplace they amount to 400 to 250 for the chests, which aren't that bad. I've kind of accumulated at least 300 now for premium currency, and I bought a beasts and fang like war chest. There's certain war chests that are unique amongst the rest, the defaulted ones with the premium currency. They sometimes give you specifically items like, let's say it's a poison war chest you want to get. It's going to be basically orcs with poison weapons and like poison resilience and some like consumable items as well, probably XP boosters, and something called Spoils of War, which is another version of XP bar in the PvP and PvE of online vendettas. So yes, their microtransactions aren't that bad on this, but they're
No,
again, as what you said, Pat, they're really not necessary.
no, not really. They also have like there's a PvP. There's two different PvPs in this game. There's the siege missions where those are basically just you avenge the death of somebody else that got killed by a certain orc captain. And there's also online conquest. And I didn't really putz around with the online conquest too much. Like, what's that like?
It's basically an indirect version of Clash of Clans. If you probably heard of that before.
Yeah.
It's basically you. Okay, well, this version on Shed of War, you can deploy your orcs to fight another person's fort that they've captured in that region. So basically, it's just you just going after the person's fort, taking down the points. You could either take their character, their orcs, and bring them onto your side by capturing them, or just obviously dominating them, or killing them off. Which I would probably recommend the first one, dominating them. But
Mm.
yeah, sometimes the PvP can be unbalanced at times during a matchmaking. Like let's say per se you have an attack rating of like 130, and the person that you're going after has a defense rating of 320. And then you go into another matchmaking scenario where you're the same attack rating of 320, and the person just probably just first started the game and has a rating of a defense rating of 20. Sadly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sometimes gets a little unbalanced at times, but other than that, I like PvP. You get a lot more loot as well as followers as well. So it's fun. You really have to putz around with it too as well.
Mm. So was this game as good or better than the first one?
I would say it's improved quite a bit, but it still has a long way to go to perfect their art. It
Okay.
has some flaws.
Okay. So if you had to give it a grade between A and F, what would you give it?
It would have to be a B minus, and the reason why is because it really has improved for its storyline in PvE. The characters are actually kind of outshine the main character Talion than they do anything else, which is actually should be more of a negative thing, but still it's a positive. And they expanded the lore behind Middle Earth as well as the back lore on Celebrimbor and Sauron, as well as an introduction of Shelob. And PvP, the introduction of PvP in this series now, it just made it twice as better. And that's
Okay.
what I have to say about that.
Gotcha. All right, that sounds good. I'm gonna give it a B plus with a
Nice.
solid thumbs up. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a nice little B plus, and the reason why is the combat is fantastic. It's smooth. The story is fantastic, and the game overall is just a lot of fun to play, and there's a lot of stuff to do. The maps are huge. Talion being a monotone, non-emotional figure doesn't really make a difference that much. It's just me kind of being nitpicky. The whole thing, like you said, with the double jump and climbing mechanics are kind of off, and even dominating some of the when you want to dominate a captain, you push the button and it doesn't actually like do it whenever you want to do it, and then you get
Yeah,
hit and you die.
there's
You know?
certain glitches on that as
Yeah.
well.
So that's
Yes.
that's kind of a pain. So that's why
Hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and give this a rating of a B plus. I would
Okay.
strongly recommend anybody going out and getting it. It's a phenomenal game, and they did a great job. So, if it's on sale on Black Friday or you have the money to go get it now, go grab it. It's a great game. That is going to conclude our very first gaming review. So I just want to say thank you everybody for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Full Range Media. And I stream and Neptune streams. I stream on twitch.tv/ Full Range Media nightly, five days a week, usually at night. And what about you?
Me, I stream mostly during the day and sometimes during the nights. It depends on certain games. I mainly play either Destiny 2, Shadow of War, a couple indie games in the PlayStation Store if they're ever free or if they're ever on sale. I like to play a couple of those, and the occasional horror games as well, horror survival. And and I normally play on YouTube Gaming. for streams.
/ Full Range Media.
Slash full range media, correct.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, come check us out, and please post comments down in the comment section. Let us know how we did, and critique us, and let us know how we can improve, and what we can do to improve content for you guys. So, thanks again for coming out and watching. Appreciate it a lot, and please don't forget to always enjoy. But thank you very much, and you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.